The cafe was loud in the way only late afternoons can be, cups clinking, milk steaming, people talking over each other like their stories were racing to escape. Daniel sat at a small table near the window, his 5-year-old daughter Lily coloring on a napkin with the intense focus of a tiny artist under deadline. Daniel wasn't really looking at his phone. He was staring at it. There was a difference. The screen showed an unfinished email to his boss, and above it, a photo notification from 3 years ago, his late wife Emma laughing on this very street, wind tangling her hair. "Daddy, is purple okay for the sun?" Lily asked. He blinked, pulling himself back. "Purple sun, that's bold, I like it." She grinned and went back to coloring. Since Emma had passed, cafes had become Daniel's safe in-between place. Not home, where silence echoed. Not the playground, where other parents sometimes asked careful questions with tilted heads. Just a neutral space with background noise loud enough to drown out his thoughts. That's when he noticed her. She stood near the counter at first, scanning the room. Early 30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled into a low ponytail. She wasn't looking at her phone like everyone else. She was just observing. Her eyes paused on tables, couples, laptops, families. There was a flicker of hesitation there. The cafe was nearly full. The only empty chair nearby was the one across from Daniel. She walked toward him slowly, stopping a polite distance away. Daniel assumed she would ask, "Is this seat taken?" He prepared to say no. Instead, she gently placed her bag on the floor, caught his attention with a small wave, and signed. He froze. Her hands moved gracefully, deliberately. She pointed lightly to herself, then made a gesture near her mouth and ear, then brought her fingers together in a questioning motion. Daniel stared, brain scrambling. He recognized none of it. She paused, then reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook and pen. She wrote quickly, tore out the page and slid it toward him. "I'm alone, can I join you?" His eyes lifted to hers. There was no pity in her expression, no desperation, just simple, vulnerable honesty. Daniel glanced at the chair, then at Lily, who was now sneakily adding glitter stickers to her purple sun. "Of course," he said automatically, then realized she wouldn't hear him. He cleared his throat awkwardly and nodded enthusiastically, gesturing to the chair. "Yes," he mouthed exaggeratedly, then gave a thumbs up like an over-caffeinated cartoon character. For a split second, he felt ridiculous. But she smiled. Not a polite smile, a real one, the kind that reached her eyes. She sat down carefully, placing her coffee on the table. Lily looked up, curious. "Hi," Lily said. The woman's face softened. She gave a small wave and signed again, slowly this time. Lily looked at her father. "Daddy, what is she doing?" Daniel hesitated. "She's talking with her hands." The woman quickly wrote something else in her notebook and turned it toward Lily. "Hi, my name is Ava." Lily beamed. "I'm Lily, that's my daddy." Ava signed her name again, pointing to herself. A VA, then she gently motioned Lily's name in return, spelling it out with careful fingers. Daniel watched, heart tightening in a way he didn't expect. There was something incredibly intimate about silence. The cafe noise faded into background static. At their little table, there was just the quiet exchange of expressions, hands, and written words. Ava wrote another note and slid it to Daniel. "Thank you. Most people pretend not to see me when I ask." Daniel frowned. Why would they do that? She read his lips carefully, then gave a small shrug and wrote again. "It's uncomfortable. Silence scares people." Daniel leaned back in his chair, suddenly aware of how loud the world had always been for him. How he filled silence with podcasts, TV, meaningless chatter. "I'm sorry," he mouthed gently. She tilted her head, studying him, as if measuring whether he meant it. Then Lily did something unexpected. She pushed her drawing across the table. "This is for you." Ava's eyes widened. She placed her hand over her heart, a universal gesture, and signed something slowly to Lily. Daniel didn't know the words, but he understood the emotion. And for the first time in a long time, something shifted inside him. Maybe it was the way Ava didn't rush to fill the quiet. Maybe it was the way Lily seemed completely unbothered by communication barriers. Or maybe it was simply the way Ava had walked up to a stranger and asked to not be alone. Daniel had spent 3 years pretending he was fine being alone. Suddenly, he wasn't so sure. They met again 2 days later. It wasn't planned exactly. Daniel had found himself thinking about Ava's steady gaze, her quiet confidence. He had even Googled basic sign language phrases at midnight, practicing clumsily in the bathroom mirror so he wouldn't look like a malfunctioning robot. When he walked into the cafe and saw her sitting by the window, notebook open, his stomach flipped. She looked up. Recognition dawned instantly. He took a breath, walked over and signed badly, "Hello." It was stiff, awkward, probably grammatically wrong. Ava blinked, then laughed silently, shoulders shaking. She covered her mouth and signed something quickly before grabbing her notebook. That was adorable, very wrong but adorable. Daniel felt his ears heat. "I've been practicing," he said defensively, exaggerating his mouth movements so she could read them. She tilted her head, impressed, and signed slowly this time, giving him a chance to follow. "You didn't have to." He shook his head. Then carefully, haltingly, he signed one word he had practiced the most. "Wanted." Her expression changed. He hadn't planned to say that, but it was true. They fell into a strange rhythm. She would sign and write. He would speak slowly and attempt signs back. Lily, of course, became the enthusiastic bridge between them, inventing her own dramatic gestures that meant absolutely nothing but made Ava laugh every time. Over the next few weeks, it became a routine. Daniel learned that Ava was a graphic designer, that she had lost her hearing at age 9 after a severe infection, that her family had struggled to learn sign language and eventually relied heavily on written notes and lip reading. He learned that she loved thunderstorms because she could feel them in her chest, that she hated when people assumed she was incapable, that she had once tried speed dating and left after 10 minutes because no one knew how to communicate with her. One afternoon, when Lily was in preschool and it was just the two of them, Ava signed something more slowly than usual. He watched carefully, picking out a few familiar words. "Alone, tired, strong." He frowned, unsure. She wrote instead, "Sometimes I'm tired of being the brave one, the one who always adapts." Daniel swallowed. That sentence hit somewhere deep. "I get that," he said softly. She studied his face. He hesitated, then continued. "After my wife died, everyone called me strong, but I didn't feel strong. I felt stuck." Ava's hand stilled. He hadn't told many people that. Most conversations about Emma ended with awkward condolences and quick subject changes. But Ava didn't interrupt. She didn't rush to fix it. She simply reached across the table and placed her hand gently over his. The cafe was loud again, but inside that small touch, there was only stillness. And Daniel realized something startling. With Ava, he didn't feel like the broken single dad trying to hold everything together. He just felt like Daniel. The first time someone stared, Daniel noticed. He and Ava were at the park with Lily. Ava was teaching Lily how to sign colors. Lily's tiny hands moved enthusiastically, fingers tangling. A woman on a nearby bench whispered something to her friend, glancing over repeatedly. Daniel felt irritation spark in his chest. Ava noticed too. She always noticed. She signed lightly, teasing, "famous." He huffed a laugh, apparently. She gave a small shrug, but he saw the flicker of something else, familiar resignation. That night, after dropping Lily at his parents' house for a sleepover, Daniel took Ava back to the cafe where they'd first met. It was quieter now. Evening light painted the windows gold. He had rehearsed this in his head 100 times. His signing was still imperfect, but he didn't reach for a notebook. He caught her attention gently. Slowly, carefully, he signed. "That day you asked to join me." She nodded. He continued, concentrating on every movement. "Best thing that happened to me in years." Her eyes widened slightly. He swallowed, then signed the words he had practiced the most. "You are not alone." Her breath caught. He could see it in the way her shoulders lifted. He added, voice soft even though she couldn't hear it, "And neither am I." Ava blinked rapidly, emotion shining in her eyes. She reached up and touched his cheek, tentative at first, then certain. In that quiet cafe, the world didn't feel loud or intimidating or divided by sound and silence. It felt shared. Months later, Lily would correct Daniel's signs with bossy confidence. Their home would fill with a new language, one built from patience, eye contact, touch, and intention. Daniel learned that love didn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it walked up to your table, signed a simple question, and waited bravely for your answer. "I'm alone, can I join you?" And sometimes, if you were lucky enough to say yes,